Hi everyone, first I'd like to say thank you for agreeing to meet with me and to discuss Cisco Defense Orchestrator, or CDO for short. My name is Derek Young and I've been with Cisco for about 3.5 years in the role of Business Development Manager for CDO. To start, we'd like to review the challenges that CDO is looking to address based on feedback we received from our client base, clients much like yourself. Next, we'll review some of the core features that CDO has introduced to help address some of the challenges that we've outlined. And at the end of today's discussion, if you like what you hear, we could discuss how we can enable your organization with a no commitment proof of value so that you can evaluate CDO and form your own opinion on the core value to your business. As a business partner, we at Cisco need to constantly evaluate how we can help you maximize your investment into both your existing and expanding Cisco security portfolio. Looking at options to drive operational efficiencies and driving consistency across platforms for a higher level of security is absolutely critical. Ultimately, we want to find ways to help drive efficiency in your day-to-day operations. Maybe you are the one that's happening to manage 100 firewalls from a central location and need a simpler and consistent way to do so. Or maybe you need an easy way to enable and set policy at the application level with firepower services across all your devices. And as well have Umbrella, and that you want to be able to push a consistent policy across both firepower and Umbrella from the same UI. Or maybe you're that customer that's looking at considering next generation firewall. Many of our clients are thinking about the next evolution of the existing ASA or ASA with firepower solution, and some of these clients need to transition hundreds, if not thousands, of firewalls. So they need a phased approach, and they really don't want to have to leverage multiple management platforms to make that happen. How can Cisco help you transition on your time frame and keep it simple from a single UI? We'll discuss that option today as well. The ultimate goal here is to drive consistency for a high level of protection while hopefully driving down costs with managing a growing security infrastructure. We realize that security is complex and ultimately drives more cost into your business. More devices come in equals more work onto the network operations equals less time to focus in on the core business. First, managing policy across many devices consistently and easily is critical to maintaining a security posture. But this is time consuming and prone to human error when doing this across many devices. Simple, efficient, and effective policy management is absolutely critical. We know your business isn't static, so as your business evolves, you need a solution that's going to scale to meet the needs of your business. Adding devices needs to be easier and consistent. Ongoing management holistically across devices is absolutely critical, and running the most optimal secure environment is a requirement. We also need to help you stay ahead of the latest threats. Updating a platform's firmware or policy cannot take days when a company is at risk. It must happen quickly and immediately. And lastly, do more with less. On top of increased workload, you're often expected to meet growing demands with a team that just isn't getting any bigger. Overall, this means that you need an integrated security solution that is not only effective, but as well simpler and consistent to manage. You need a systematic way to improve your security posture and provide robust security policy management across all your locations. Introducing Cisco Defense Orchestrator. Leveraging CDO, your clients are able to simply and consistently manage security policy across multiple Cisco security devices from the cloud. Using Cisco Defense Orchestrator will strengthen your overall security posture and introduce efficiencies to your network operations team. At Cisco, we focused on some core design principles around building out CDO, and we carry this on to future developments as well. First, it needs to be simple. We need to help simplify the experience of how you manage devices moving forward. You should not have to invest in additional resources, spend days for installation or training just to be able to leverage a solution like Cisco Defense Orchestrator. As a cloud platform, clients are onboarded within hours, and within days, clients can be leveraging CDO to perform management across their portfolio of supported devices. Second, it needs to drive efficiency. The objective here is to reduce time it takes to managing your growing investment. We have applied the ability to drive bulk changes across the most common of challenges such as policy management or image upgrades to allow you to take advantage of the efficiencies of using a centralized solution like CDO. An example, we have a client that needed to upgrade the firmware on 40 ASA firewalls that she manages today. Traditionally, to do an upgrade across all these firewalls would have taken at least a day, if not more, for planning, deployment, and then monitoring. Leveraging CDO, she was able to perform the upgrade in 30 minutes across all 40 devices. How much do you think 7 hours and 30 minutes is worth to your business today? Lastly, leveraging a tool like CDO needs to be effective. We have applied the checks and balances across our workflow to help ensure that we're effective in applying changes to your devices. While we can't control human error, we do provide you the features to help remediate even the smallest or the largest of mistakes, as mistakes do happen. The cloud presents many options for our clients, but the following are really the core values of what CDO has to offer as a cloud-based solution. First and foremost, as a Cisco developed product, we took a security first approach. Applying best-of-breed security technology is only the beginning to help ensure we protect your intellectual property. We have built out procedures and process across teams to help ensure we adhere to the highest level of protection from design, development, to operations. Security is never an afterthought within CDO. Next is scale. CDO need to be able to support some of our largest clients on the marketplace. We have tested CDO to support upwards of 10,000 devices per tenant, allowing us to provide that capability to our largest clients again. Flexibility. To enable integration into some of your other core tools that maybe you leverage today. Tools like maybe your SIM solution or your SAML provider for two-factor authentication. This can all be done via our RESTful API, and we're happy to have further discussions if there are certain applications you're interested in possibly providing integration to. Time to value. Implementation of a cloud-based solution can be hours, not days. Average client has CDO up and running within 24 hours from the time they get their credentials enabling them to get access to CDO. We're also not restricted to delays on pushing out new functionality. CDO can and does push many non-disruptive changes out to our customers, allowing you to get access to the new features much quicker than you would with a traditional on-prem solution. All right, now that we've talked a little bit more about what CDO is, let's get started and start taking a look at some of the core features that we feel can help you address these ongoing challenges you face on a day-to-day basis. First, we'll walk you through the process of onboarding devices into CDO, and we'll talk about some of the key components of the architecture. Next, we'll walk through some of the core ASA features to include a simple way to enable firepower services directly from the same UI for application policy management. If you're using CDO to manage firepower and you also have Umbrella, we'll talk about the benefits of leveraging CDO to manage policy across both applications. And lastly, maybe you're considering a holistic move to next generation firewall, or maybe you're going to be looking at managing a hybrid ASA and next generation firewall solution. Either way, CDO can help you, and we'll show you exactly how we can do so. CDO is comprised of two components. First, the CDO cloud, which is shown here at the top. This is where all the processing changes to your devices takes place. Think of this as a staging platform where we write all the changes and push them down to your devices when the time is right for your business. Second is what we call the Secure Device Connector, or SDC for short. The SDC enables a secure connection back to your devices and enables communication to the CDO cloud. As outlined in the architecture slide, you have two options as it relates to the Secure Device Connector available to you to leverage. First, on the left-hand side is the cloud solution. This is available by default and does require that you do open up your firewall to enable communication with CDO. On the right-hand side is the on-prem solution. On-premise is behind your firewall and requires a small OVA to be downloaded into your virtual environment. Both SDCs perform the same exact function, and once loaded, you'll never have to really do anything with these platforms moving forward. At the end of this presentation, we will be happy to provide you a link to the documentation that outlines requirements and deployment for best practice. Once the SDC is connected, we are now ready to start loading devices. Load devices one by one or in bulk. We give you the options. Load a config only, as what we refer to as a model device for analysis, or if you want to connect to a device directly for remediation, you can do so as well. We did our best to keep everything super simple, whether you're loading at 5 devices or hundreds. Either way, we want to simplify the experience across the board. Now that we've gotten your devices loaded, we are ready to start taking a look at areas that we can help optimize the devices that have been imported. When you have devices that have been in place for years with multiple administrators and maybe outside consultants that are making changes, it's inevitable that there will be room or opportunity, I should say, to optimize those devices. Seconds, after you onboard them into CDO, we quickly go to the Objects tab and you can identify areas of improvement. Areas of improvement to include unused objects. These are objects that have been identified as never being hit and or will never be going to be hit, so why keep them in the system? Leaving them in the system is a performance impact, creates challenges from a troubleshooting perspective, and during an audit can leave the admin in a position where they have to justify their existence. In CDO, you can bulk select and delete hundreds at a time. Next is a duplicate object. Same value, but different names, creating a duplicate object on a device. In CDO, you can simply pick one to keep and hit resolve, and now that becomes the primary object while deleting the other. And lastly is inconsistent objects. This is the most concerning, as this is identifying objects within the same name across devices but different values. This could be a security risk if, for instance, you have a block list of objects and all IPs should be exactly the same across each device. CDO allows you to identify this, merge them into one collective object with all IPs to ensure that each device is protected as they should be within your network. Now that you are able to optimize what you have in place for existing objects, we now want to proactively start managing from CDO the existing as well as the new objects you can create. Within CDO's Objects tab, CDO can now create, edit, manage both network and service objects as well as groups across devices for consistency. Again, the goal here is to keep a consistent object design in place for efficiency and the highest level of security. Extended on the optimization use case is the ability for us to do an analysis on your network policies for potential issues. Issues such as shadow rules. A network policy with shadow rules is one in which at least one rule in the policy will never trigger because a rule that precedes it prevents that packet from being evaluated by the shadow rule. By deleting shadow rules, it frees up space for the creation of other rules within this device, making it that much more efficient. We also do an analysis on hit rates. Leveraging CDO for analysis, you can look at the number of hits on your network policies and edit them to make them more effective or simply delete them altogether. You can filter these by day, week, month, or year. The ultimate goal of optimizing your firewalls is to help ensure that you are improving the overall performance and achieving the highest level of security possible. Once optimized, you can now have a better way to manage policy moving forward and or position you for a potential transition to the next generation firewall. Optimization is complete. Now that we have put you in a position to proactively manage your policy directly from the CDO UI, in the network policy page, you can also put you in a position to be able to compare, filter, search, edit, and create new policies. Central policy management for control and consistency, again, is the ultimate goal. If you recall, efficiency was one of the core designs principles of CDO. There is no better example than the time and cost savings around doing image upgrades directly from the CDO application. The average customer savings is about 90% in time by leveraging this workflow for image upgrades. Here's an outline of the 3 simple steps involved with using CDO to manage an upgrade of your devices. First, let's pick out the software image that you would like to integrate to, and CDO will show you all the versions that are compatible with your current ASA image. If you don't see one that you're looking for, you can also submit a request to TAC, and they can have one added usually within a couple hours. Next, we want to take a look at your current ASTM version as well. Again, we'll present you with the options that are available and compatible with your current ASTM version so that you can do a quick upgrade across ASTM within this process. If you're not using ASTM, you can skip it altogether by hitting the skip button. Last, we need to make a decision if you want to just load the image to the device and upgrade later, or if you want to perform the complete upgrade process, which includes a reboot of the actual device. This is something that can take place on a scheduled time, or you can do so manually at any given time. We perform this seamlessly on a single device as well as an HA pair. And that pretty much is it. 3 steps, and you can now upgrade a single device, or you can upgrade all your devices at once. Again, a great way to drive efficiency on the way you manage your ASAs in your environment today. While we focus a lot of our efforts on building out a simple to use GUI, we also found that there were many folks that simply could not leave CLI behind. So why not make that experience for them better as well? We have introduced what we refer to as a CLI tool that will greatly enhance the capabilities over performing an SSH to each individual box. Here's a few examples of how you can leverage CDO's CLI tool to make that experience better. Perform any CLI command you want across these devices one at a time or in bulk. The key word here is bulk. Here's a simple example of the show vir command that we can run across 3 devices. The outcome, of course, is going to be 3 different configurations. But if you applied a command that you expected the same response, we would highlight that as a single response across all 3 devices. This could be 3, it could be 1,000, it doesn't really matter. End of the day, the goal being is that we want to put you in a position where you can perform CLI commands in bulk across many devices as a whole. We also have created this concept of macros, or shortcuts for commands that you make on a regular basis. We have populated CDO with some of the most common, but you can also create your own for some of the more common commands that you may run in your business on a day-to-day basis. Here's an example of a site-to-site VPN tunnel macro. As you can see here, we have pre-populated the command structure while providing you with the parameters so that you as a user can define what those variables should be. Once complete, you can send it to each device or in bulk, and to have it applied to each individual firewall. Lastly, let's take a look at how we capture changes within CDO for audit and troubleshooting purposes. Every change that is made within the CDO is captured in our change log. Here, you will get an exportable view of a date, time, who, and what the change was. Here's an example of where we had a couple of IP addresses were changed within the network objects on an ASA device called Charlotte. It was completed on July 30th, 2018 at 2:15 by Derek Young of Cisco. We can also pull a diff view to see the original configuration compared to the changed. In this case, we're showing you one where there was 5 changes, but this is the first view of what that change was. The original config on the left and the new config on the right. We have also added the ability to apply a change request ticket that enables you to apply a ticket number and maybe description of what that change was for tracking and audit purposes. There's much more to CDO that can offer you a business to help simplify the management of your ASA devices. Other common feature interests from our clients include the ability to do VPNs, the ability to monitor global VPN infrastructure for your site-to-site VPNs, and including important information such as NAT, key exchange, and tunnel status. We also have put you in a position where you can leverage what we call the template capability, which is basically the opportunity to roll out new configurations based on a gold standard to your new ASA devices. This will simplify the experience of deploying new devices and also help ensure consistency of the policy and objects for a more secure environment. There are many more examples of how you can leverage CDO to manage your ASAs. What I would recommend is, if you're interested, we set up a specific time to go through a proper demo and outline all the details of what CDO can do to help you manage those ASA devices. But for now, let's take a look at what we can do from a firepower perspective. CDO support expands well beyond the Layer 3 and Layer 4 to also Layer 7 of firepower services. If you have a device that supports firepower and you've purchased your licensing for AMP, URL, and IPS, CDO will identify that and will put you in a position where you can enable or turn on firepower directly from CDO and start managing the modules through our UI. Let's take a quick look at how we can set up policy across URL, malware, and IPS directly from the same UI that you're using to manage your ASAs today. In this example, we're showing you how we can set up URL filtering within the firepower services of CDO. You have enabled firepower and now you want to start setting up policy. On the left, by default, CDO blocks all high-risk categories for URL. But on the right, we also present you the ability to define URL categories that are subject to your company policy. Pretty straightforward. Now let's take a look at how we can also set up policy across malware. Setting up malware protection is a very similar workflow to what you experienced with URL. You pick out the file category and simply apply the action you feel best fits your company policy. And you're done. Pretty straightforward. Last thing to do is turn up intrusion prevention by picking a default action for how you want to have all your traffic to be handled. Now that we've turned on URL, malware, and the ability to leverage intrusion prevention, now let's take a look at how we can help you out with visibility into your business from our reporting screen. CDO's monitoring and reporting capabilities provide valuable insights into the impact of existing policy and the resulting security posture. Reports can reflect selectable timescales and be customized in a variety of ways. Today, we give you the ability to see top applications, top destinations, attacks and threats, and top web categories. The goal and objective here is to put you in a position where you have enough visibility to make educated decisions on changes you need to apply to policy that will help continue to protect your business. Now that we've shown you the ability, how to enable firepower services, enable the policy, and set up reporting, we can now move forward with proactively managing an application policy across your next generation firewalls through what we call the Application Policy Manager, or APM. A common example we like to share is Facebook. Imagine a business came back to you suggesting that employees are spending way too much time browsing on Facebook, and they want to be able to shut that down. If you were to go to the Application Policies page and type in Facebook, it'll be presenting back the following resource types. You'll have domain and IP address, which in this case is www.facebook.com, category for social networking, and at last, the application, so things like Facebook chat, photos, apps, and events, and so on. What you need to decide, is it a Facebook issue or is it a social networking issue? Once you determine this, you can block, allow, monitor, whichever action makes the most sense for your business. Now that we've shown you how easy it is to set up policy across your firepower applications, we can also expand this to help protect your remote users that may be leveraging Umbrella. CDO enables policy management across both your Umbrella clients and Firepower ASA devices from the same UI for efficiency and consistency of changes. Let's go back to the example that we talked about in regards to blocking Facebook. Imagine your CEO comes to you and says, I want to block Facebook across all my employees. When he or she says this, what they're really implying is that they don't want to just block people behind a firewall, they also want to be able to block the people sitting at home or maybe at the local coffee shop. If you're leveraging Umbrella to manage the remote users, you can now go to the Application Policy Management screen, type in Facebook, and block it across your Firepower devices and Umbrella at the same exact time. No need to log into separate platforms, which takes time, and if you happen to miss one, then that could drive a consistency issue. Now that we've talked to the ability how you can leverage CDO to manage your ASAs with Firepower, and also provide cross-policy management with Umbrella, let's talk about what we can do on the Firepower threat defense side. While Cisco was one of the early innovators around next-generation firewall, we continue to evolve the technology to introduce ease of management, enhanced functionality, and like you've experienced with the ASA platform, stability and longevity. ASA with Firepower services will continue to be supported, and CDO is an example of that continued investment in this area that Cisco continues to deliver. Firepower threat defense is the future of Cisco's next-generation firewall strategy, but we realize that many companies will need to take a phased approach to that full transition. And again, this is where CDO can come in to help you. Cisco's next-generation firewall platform presents options as to how you can manage your devices, and it really comes down to your core use cases and requirements. First, we continue to support on-box management via ASDM for ASAs, or FDM for the FTD devices. These are free with the firewalls, but it does limit your ability to manage these devices to an individual device. Centralized management is available in two consumption models, an on-premise solution and a cloud solution. On-premise. If you're looking to manage strictly ASAs and a stateful firewall, CSM will certainly serve you well for centralized management of those devices. If you need to add Firepower services, you will need to introduce FMC to manage AMP, URL, and IPS. Now, if you move over to the right side for FTD, you can leverage FMC to manage both the stateful as well as the Firepower from a single image. And again, this is one of the core values of the Firepower threat defense. Now looking at a cloud solution, leveraging Cisco Defense Orchestrator, you can manage both ASA with Firepower and FTD from a single user interface. There are differences between the different packages, but again, we can work with you to help determine which management solution makes the most sense for your business. But for now, let's take a look at what CDO looks like for managing your FTD devices moving forward. Much like onboarding other devices, we do our best to keep it simple and are extending this even further into Firepower threat defense. First, you have the option of CDO doing a discovery of your FTD devices via smart licensing. If you don't have smart licensing, you can go through the traditional workflow of onboarding an FTD device as a manual build or leveraging a template within CDO, something we'll discuss in a couple of slides moving forward. Now that you've had the devices loaded, you can start to capture important details such as licensing or device details of that box. What licensing is able, you'll be able to identify what licensing is enabled. You'll be able to look at location by IP, serial, and also the version of software of that device. As you can see here, we've onboarded both ASAs and FTD with the goal of driving a consistent UI to start managing your devices across the board. Now that you have visibility into your devices, we also want to position you to make quick changes to the settings of each device. Here's an example of the system settings on this device to include management access, logging, DHCP, DNS, interface, hostname, and NTP. Also, as we discussed in our previous onboarding slide, we also have the ability to build out templates for FTD devices. Similar to the benefits of the ASA with firepower, templates will position you for consistency and speed of deployment on your new FTD devices. Once created, you can simply apply the template to any given FTD device from CDO directly. We've also given you the ability to manage consistent objects for specifically network objects on both the ASA and FTD platform. And this again goes back to the hybrid management approach that we're looking for, delivering to our customers that are looking for that phased migration towards next generation firewall. And while you do have the ability to manage network objects within CDO for ASAs and FTD, we do extend this capability a little bit more for the FTD devices specifically. So we go beyond the ability to support both service and network objects to include security zone, URL objects, application filter objects, and geolocation. Setting up a policy on a device or multiple devices is simple while not eliminating the capabilities of the options that are available. To create a new rule, you can define the following parameters: source or destination, URL, you can base this on categories or specific highlighted URLs, applications, this can be done based on a type, category, tag, risk, or business relevance. Intrusion prevention, this is something we show here where there are predefined policy options, and these policy options are designed by the Cisco Talos group. File policy, so the ability to detect malicious software or malware by leveraging the power of AMP for firepower. And then lastly, the ability to set up logging. We enable the ability to set log connections according to security and compliance needs of your organization. Next, let's take a look at intrusion prevention overrides. The overrides view gives the user one central location to see which IPS rules have actions and that have been changed from the defaults that were set by Talos during the initial creation of the IPS policy. Again, a great way to obviously identify any potential risk to your organization in advance. CDO also shows threats that have been triggered on FTD devices that are currently being managed by CDO. In short, threat events are equivalent to IPS stored events. The threat events view also allows the user to tune any rule that has been triggered by a threat event. By tuning, the user is given the option to drop the traffic, alert on the traffic, or disable the rule altogether. In an earlier slide, we reviewed the ability to capture all changes across ASA Firepower, and Umbrella. This also applies to FTD as well. And in this example, you can see that we've captured changes not only across FTD, but also our ASA platforms. This is a great place for change log audits, as well overall visibility for troubleshooting. This completes our overview of Cisco Defense Orchestrator's capabilities around managing your ASA Firepower, Umbrella, and as well with that Firepower threat defense environment. There is much more to CDO than we were able to show you within this presentation, and there's much more coming up here in the near future around the capabilities of the existing platforms as well as future. If you're interested in hearing a little bit more or potentially taking a look at doing a proof of value, please feel free to reach out to us at cdosales@cisco.com, and we'll be ready to help you out at any moment's notice. Thank you very much and have a great day.